Okay, so usually when you're sending in, you send in a cover letter and a resume. And the other thing you might be sending in, by the way, are examples of your work. In the particular case of this person, they sent me an email that had the cover letter and the resume attached to it. And in the email, they had sort of a short introduction to themselves and their writing clips. And that worked really well as an example of their work. I read the clips, and that was also sort of motivation for me. I was really interested because the clips were really quite good. You can always include samples of your work. So if you are in drafting, then show some examples of that. In this day and age, you can just get yourself a really simple, easy website that shows it off. Let's say that you're looking for a job as a barista. You could do a photo essay of different types of drinks that you have made. So it doesn't hurt, in addition to some boring cover letter resume, to have something else that shows you off. In this particular case, this person had some really good writing examples. You can also put links to the example. So where she has her ellenreporter.com website, you can actually point to the examples that are there on that website. If you do that, it doesn't hurt to say somewhere in the cover letter that the website has these examples and sort of direct the person to them. One of the biggest things to know is it may be that you're dealing with a job market where it's really competitive and there's like 400 people applying for your job, in which case you really have to stand out. Or it might be that you're lucky and the job market is pretty small and you're just trying to stand out compared to a couple other people, but you never know which one it is. So you want to stand out as someone that the person reads and goes, oh, I want to know more about this person, or I think this person really fits with my dental hygiene office, or my diesel mechanic shop, or whatever it is. You're looking to be a good fit for what it is that they're doing, because you don't want a job that you don't like, and they don't want to hire someone who doesn't like the job. I mean, hopefully. So try to make sure that your cover letter and your resume show you as a person and as the person in the workplace that you're seeking to be. So let's take a look at the resume, because the resume that came with this, I could tell that this person had obviously really worked hard on their cover letter. It was laid out beautifully. It was really well written. The resume came across as just a little bit, I don't want to say haphazard, but kind of maybe a little bit more haphazard. So here we are. And there's just a couple things going on here that just didn't blow me away. So first of all, I really don't need this part to say resume/CV at the top. I kind of know what it is. The only time you do that is memos. Memos always say memo at the top. Also, resumes and CVs are different. A resume is literally a listing of what your job skills are and your job experience. A CV stands for curriculum vitae, and that's used in academics. And those are really long. Resumes should be 1 page, and notice the cover letter is making a big effort to be 1 page as well. CVs can be like 9-10 pages long. Those are very academic. And they sort of will be like, here's every talk I've ever given at every school, every paper I've ever published. So it's a very different thing. So I'm going to show you in a minute. I actually did a rewrite of this resume, so I'll show you in a minute a new version of it. But first, we'll sort of go through things that I would change. I'd get rid of the resume, CV. I would get rid of the student. It's kind of, kind of obvious that they are a student. It doesn't sort of need to be stated, and that's not, they're graduating and applying for a job. So they don't need to tell me that. You don't need to hide it. Like if you're a student who's applying for a job as a student, you don't hide that. But at the same time, you don't need to sort of just say like, this is me, student. So down here, she has it as summary. Usually it's something like job goal or something like that. I'm not always fond of this, but actually a lot of workplaces are. So you have up top sort of like who you are in a sentence. And so they've written an accomplished journalism student with experience in writing, documentary work, and photography. So I would tell this person, like, get rid of the part about student, because they're no longer a student. They're just an accomplished journalist. Education, it's great that they have the education on here, but actually it doesn't really have a whole lot, because for one thing, they obviously didn't update it for graduation. You do want to put your expected graduation dates instead of just that you're still in school, because they want to know when you're available full time. And also you want to put your classes down. If your classes gave you relevant experience, then say that. So let's say that you've been paying for school by working as a barista, but you are working, doing a ton of drafting work at LCC. Well, if you're doing a ton of drafting work at LCC, like, tell me what classes you took and what skills you got. Like, education, the whole reason you're getting an education is to get these skills. So say it to me under the education here. So here, this person could list, for example, some of the classes they took and the skills they gained. So I know, because I teach some time at the University of Oregon, that she could say that she took reporting 2 and knows how to do investigations, that she could say that she took the documentary film course, etc. Here, a list of experience, it's a little vague. You'll see on my rewrite of it that I actually separated out the experience a little bit. And this, if you look at, this looks like a jumble. It does not look very, like, I have to work to find the information. Don't make me work. It's a horrible thing to say. I love working, but no, don't make your person that you're sending this to work to figure anything about you. Make everything about you like really clear and interesting. This is your chance to show yourself off and be like, I'm like super amazing, hire me. And that's kind of not what this sort of jumble of words here screams. Like, there's nothing that makes me go, God, I really want to read this. It's a very unfriendly looking mass of words. You want your mass of words to look friendly and digestible. Down here, this is another one you see a lot on resume. You see skills. And I mean, include that if it's skills that are necessary. So if you're like a wildland fighter and you have certain wildland firefighting skills, include that. Wow, that was my dog snoring. I apparently am boring him. Hopefully I'm not boring you guys quite so much. But in this case, I'm like, I kind of hope anyone applying for a reporting job would have reporting, writing, and Microsoft Office skills. So I don't know, this was entirely necessary for this particular resume. Here, scholarship, great. If you've got grants, if you've got scholarships, if you have awards, say it. And then we have references, also great. You can do one of 2 things, by the way. You can say references, or you can say references available upon request, because it may be that you have different references for different jobs, or it may be that you send out the resume and then once the person is interested in hiring you, you call up your reference and say, hey, and by the way, you always want to make sure that you've already asked them to be your reference. Don't like make it out of the blue, but then you just give them a heads up when a reference is asked for. The other thing you can do too is if you know someone is a good reference and has your back, you can ask them to write you a reference letter that they just have on file and they send out anytime you apply for a job. So I did a rewrite of this one just because there's a lot of good stuff on here and it's just lost. So here is my rewrite. So you notice a couple things. One, I'm riffing off the letter. So if you go over the letter, and I'm going to make it smaller just so you can kind of see, you'll see that the letter and the new resume now have a similarity to them. You want to do that. If I'm looking through files, whether it's printed out or a million tabs open on my computer, which I love to do, I love to have a million tabs open. This tells me that this is the same person. There's the very distinct ER for Ellen Reporter at the top here. Actually, I should put the Ellen Reporter sort of next to it like it had the other one to make it even more similar. Did the same gray out thing here. And it sort of just lines up a little bit nicely with the other one. So here I've gotten rid of this, the part where she sort of just writes like whatever it was, goals or whatever it is, and just has this accomplished journalism student. So this I would actually change to accomplished journalist with experience in writing, documentary work, and photography. That's a little bit more clear. Here, education, University of Oregon, I would change this to expected graduation, or when they did graduate. And then here, like I mentioned earlier, the courses that are relevant. GPA, a news over here that I will say GPA if relevant. If you have a rock star GPA, say it. If you don't have a rock star GPA, then it's really no one's business. One of my favorite, I don't know if it's a joke, but a friend of mine liked to always point out to me, her joke was, what do you call a doctor who graduated last in their class in medical school? Doctor, because there's still a doctor, whether or not they had all A's or whether they just had good enough grades to pass. So you still got the skills, whether or not you got the good grades or not. So GPA only if relevant. In this case, this person graduated the University of Oregon. I always tell my students, if you went to community college, say that on there, because community college shows that you've put the work in. Depending on where you are in your career, will say whether you have high school or not. If some of your high school skills are relevant, say it. If you're just graduated high school and now you're at LCC, then include high school. Once you have graduated college, you no longer need to have high school on there, which is why this person doesn't. So here, I've taken this journalism experience because that's what she's applying for, right? She's applying for a journalism job, but the original resume just starts off with like disc jockey, producer, music blog. And at this point, like people stop reading. Well, I got way down here, and that's where I found that this person actually has writing experience, but that was buried. It was really hidden. I needed to know that. So I moved this up to journalism experience up here, and we have Writer Edith's magazine. And then you'll also see that the words are parallel. So if it's in the current, then it produces, leads, whatever. And if it's in the past, then it is worked, oversaw. So you have your verbs parallel. So you wouldn't say, I worked at this producing, worked as a screenwriter, producing blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to think of a good example of it, but basically make it so that it's, well, down here's a better example. So Radio Distract produces a 2-hour series, leads a team. And here it goes, I am directing. In this case, it should be past tense. This person haven't updated, so it should actually say directed. And produced, documentary about nationwide female tracking, etc. Let's see. And since it's got documentary, I'd get rid of the first documentary because we have it twice. And then I'm gonna do this. Okay, oops, I gotta get rid of that. Okay. So you'll see the parallel every time. So this one is ongoing, produces. This is ongoing because it's present, leads, and then we move into the past tense, directed and produced. Documentary intern. This one doesn't say the skill set. So here, another intern for the documentary photo, duties included, research. And actually you could just get rid of duties included and just say researched, comma, chose archival footage and organized archives, worked under award-winning director, blah, blah, blah. And here we see there's a parallel again, co-produced and directed a documentary film. So use parallel verbs. I left the skills in, even though I wasn't blown away. I have awards, references, etc. One thing you can do is you can actually, if you have like interesting skills outside of your normal work, you can put that in a resume. If you're also a scuba diver or you can do Spanish translation, there is absolutely nothing wrong with saying that. And actually, part of the reason I've hired people in the past is when they have like an interesting extra skill set that I think might be useful. So I mentioned using a template. This person has kind of freehanded it, but what you can do this within your Google Drive folder, is you can do File, and you can do New, and you can go from Template Gallery. And we can see all these different templates that you can get. These are really useful, by the way. So essay, report, etc., lesson plan. And here we go, letters and resumes. So here is a template for a letter. And you can see it's already sort of nicely created for you, and you would just cut and paste using paste that formatting, your letter right here, or just delete it and start typing. I don't like they have Ms., but I'll survive. And you don't, since you don't want to have the same green stripe that everybody else has, because then it's a clear sign you're a template, you can do a couple different things here. You can just delete the green stripe. You can also change the color of the green stripe. I'm just going to go ahead and delete the green stripe. And then here they're using sort of Proxima. I might just change that whole font over and do something more boring like Arial. And then I will just change this from green. I can go up here to the color and maybe just make it my own personalized color like dark blue. There you go. Then to have a matching resume. Oh, and also don't forget to go up here and change the name to match what you need for your assignment. Again, you're going to go to New, and you're going to do from Template Gallery again. And we'll go down here, the letters, and then we see resume. Notice I use Spearmint here. Well, if I use Spearmint over here, then the resume template that I'm opening now is going to match. But since I changed the font, I'm going to change the font again. So I'm going to do Arial. I already decided I don't like the green stripe, so I'm going to get rid of the green stripe. And I'm going to change this color just like I did earlier. I would change that over to the other color to match it for that dark blue all the way through. And now it looks the way I'd like it to. So here again, you'll see it starts off with your name, your skills, your experience, your education, etc. Notice that this one has education below experience and skills. That's something that's important to notice. You put things in your resume. When you're ordering your resume, there's two things to know. One, it's always most recent to furthest away. So for education, start with your most recent degree. And then, so if you are putting on your LCC and high school, you would start with LCC, expected graduation date, and then below that would be high school when you graduated. So the most recent stuff comes first. The second key to ordering your resume is that you put things in order of their importance. So in this particular case, this resume assumes that the person's experience is more recent and more pertinent than their education. I do that, for example, on my own resume. My education, I have a degree in comparative literature. My PhD in comparative literature is not something that impresses anyone at a newspaper looking to hire me for a journalism job. What's going to impress them is my years of experience as the successful editor of a newspaper. So I would not put my education up top. I would actually put my newspaper experience up top. I also have other experience. I teach at LCC and I teach at the University of Oregon. So I would have journalism experience, and I would have a second section for education experience. As other skills, I also ride horses and I train horses. So I might have that as like kind of a cute, like other skills type of things. I speak 3 languages and I have other skills. So you might swap out something like awards or skills or add a whole other category, which, by the way, if you want to do that, you would just copy right here, awards, and then you would put that and you would just change this to like hobbies or whatever it is that you would want to do instead. And again, like I said, you want to parallel your verbs. So it's always produced, directed, developed. It wouldn't be produced and the next one, I also develop. It's always produced, directed, developed, led, drove, etc. Keep your verbs parallel. And that is enough, I do believe, to get you started.